Welcome to This Explainer. We're jumping right into a mystery today involving a place so deeply terrifying and honestly so fundamentally bizarre that it actually triggered secret investigations by the United States government. We're talking about a highly isolated property tucked way out in the Utah desert. You might know it as Skinwalker Ranch. For over 200 years, this specific patch of land has been an absolute hotspot for the impossible. So let's unpack the timeline, the evidence, and the genuinely terrifying encounters that make this ranch ground zero for the unexplained. Never enter the valley after sunset. You know, that's not some cheesy line from a modern horror movie. It's an actual, centuries-old warning passed down by Native American tribes who deliberately avoided this land long before America was even a nation. Now, you have to ask yourself, why would entire tribes completely write off such a massive, beautiful piece of land? Well, according to their ancient legends, it was because the area was hopelessly cursed. To really grasp what's happening out there today, we gotta start with the foundational lore. Act 1, the ancient curse. So, the ancient inhabitants believed this whole valley was cursed by a skinwalker. And we aren't just talking about standard ghosts here. Tribal lore described these things as incredibly powerful dark spirits, essentially witches, that possessed this horrifying ability to literally change their physical shape. They could mimic everyday animals or contort themselves into these terrifying, twisted human-like creatures. That deep-rooted, visceral fear, that was the baseline for this valley. If you look at the history, you'll see this centuries-long pattern where the strangeness just keeps escalating. It kicks off with those pre-1800s tribal warnings, right? But it definitely doesn't stop there. The bizarre activity marches straight into the 1990s when new settlers arrive. Then it accelerates into these massive, billionaire-funded scientific investigations and eventually culminates in modern-day government secrecy. The mystery doesn't fade over time. It actually gets much, much worse. Which brings us to our next chapter, Act 2. The Ground Zero family. Okay, so despite all those ancient warnings, a family known as the Shermans bought this seemingly peaceful ranch in the 1990s. And at first, it was quiet. But then, the impossible started happening. They reported coming face to face with a massive, fearless wolf right on their property. And we're not talking about a large dog. The Shermans noted that this creature was literally 3 times the size of a normal timber wolf. One evening, the dad actually tries to scare this massive creature away. But the wolf, it doesn't even flinch. It just stands there, completely unblinking, showing absolutely zero fear of humans. And then, right in front of them, it launches this horrifying attack on one of the family's calves. Naturally, in an absolute panic and desperate to save their livestock, the family grabs their guns. They open fire, shooting bullets directly into this massive creature from close range. But here is the craziest part. The bullets had absolutely zero effect. Like none. No blood, no signs of pain, nothing at all. The animal didn't even react to being shot. It just calmly let go of the calf, turned around, and walked away, vanishing completely into the darkness. And the truly scary part? That bulletproof wolf was just the beginning of the Sherman family's nightmare. And things only get weirder from here. Act 3. Escalation of the bizarre. So a giant invincible wolf was really just the opening act. Before long, the family started finding their cattle dead. Now, a normal predator attack leaves obvious evidence, right? You'd see blood, footprints, signs of a major struggle. But at Skinwalker Ranch, zero blood, zero footprints. Completely healthy animals were found dead under impossible conditions. Some were mutilated with this laser-like surgical precision, while other massive 1,000-pound animals simply vanished entirely into thin air. It was so baffling that highly experienced police officers were brought in, and even they were completely stumped. Imagine trying to just go to sleep at night while all of this is happening right outside your window. And it wasn't just ground-level stuff either. The Shermans reported these huge, completely silent flying triangles floating up in the night sky. They saw these bright blue spheres zipping around at impossible speeds. At one point, they even witnessed a strange orange portal literally open up in midair, and a dark, humanoid figure crawled out of it before vanishing. Plus, around their actual house, it was like a poltergeist had moved in. Heavy objects teleporting, chains moving on their own, terrifying non-human screams echoing from the tree line, and disembodied voices whispering just outside their walls. Word finally gets out. Act 4. Enter the billionaire and the government. So, stories start circulating, and billionaire businessman Robert Bigelow steps in with a strict scientific playbook to figure this out. Step 1, He buys the ranch outright. Step 2, he completely wires the property with state-of-the-art security cameras and underground sensors to track any magnetic or physical disturbances. And Step 3, he deploys a secret, highly trained scientific research team. The goal was simple: measure, track, and officially record the impossible. But guess what? Science didn't win. According to former investigators on Bigelow's own team, they captured events they just flat out could not explain. They recorded strange lights, tracked fast-moving flying objects, and witnessed creatures that appeared for a few seconds before completely evaporating. And despite all their advanced tech and rigorous scientific training, the stuff they saw was so deeply disturbing that some of these hardened researchers became absolutely terrified, like so frightened they quit their jobs and completely refused to ever set foot on the ranch again. Which leads us to the biggest mystery of all. Act 5, the government secret. When private, billionaire-funded science fails, who steps in? The U.S. government. Reports eventually leaked confirming that the government secretly poured massive funding into investigations of UFO activity that were directly connected to Skinwalker Ranch. Let's just pause and think about that for a second. Why would the most powerful government on the planet secretly drop millions of taxpayer dollars to study one isolated, supposedly cursed piece of farmland in the middle of Utah? What exactly did they know that we don't? So where does all of this leave us today? Well, some folks think the ranch is sitting right on top of a hidden magnetic energy portal. Others are totally convinced it's some sort of testing ground for extraterrestrial technology. Or, maybe it's exactly what those tribal legends warned us about centuries ago. But the chilling reality? There are still no definitive answers. The brightest scientists can't explain it, and the military remains completely baffled. Even right now, today, visitors out there report this heavy feeling of being watched by unseen eyes, and glowing figures are still seen wandering out in the desert. Despite centuries of terrifying encounters and millions of dollars spent on cutting-edge scientific research, the whole thing remains entirely unexplained. Maybe some phenomena in this universe are just truly beyond our current scientific understanding. Or maybe the truth hiding out at Skinwalker Ranch is something humanity was simply never supposed to discover in the first place. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious out there and keep questioning the impossible.